The Red Queen. The Red Queen was number 2 in our office. A person who rose through treachery, backstabbing, personal connections and incompetence. You know, the typical way a manager moves up. She spent 27 months as a line worker before deposing her supervisor in a coup. In this industry it usually takes 5 years to get to a point where one really knows what they are doing. She then attached herself to an office boss known as Dan the Dirty, doing his hatchet work on employees, and so became indispensable to him. So, when Dan the Dirty came to our office, he dragged the Red Queen with him. It was a 3-month honeymoon where the office was being inspected, so she kept her fangs hidden. The day after the inspection report came out, it was open season on the staff. The report did say that it was a very productive office. Well, several things came out within days. This was before we had electronic time cards, so she wrote up a 17-page rambling procedure on how to log your time. Al staying in town was one color. Going away was another color. SL for yourself was one color. Your male spouse was another. Female spouse another. Kids another. Etc. etc. We had more colors than a Crayola 64 crayon box. Also, you had to log time by the minute in spite of the fact that the system only took 15-minute increments. People were taking 21 minutes of leave and signing out at 5:19. It drove HR insane. In the procedure, if you came back from coffee after 15 minutes or lunch after 45, you were on leave. You could only take lunch between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. unless you had express written permission in advance from her. We're a 24-hour organization. People on the night were getting daily written authorization from her merely to eat. I was away on assignment in a time zone 6 hours different and had to get written authorization from her to eat for my entire team on a daily basis, because we never ate between 10 and 2 for that time zone. You also had to sign in exactly at 8 and out at 5. Again, we're a 24-hour organization. The Red Queen also developed office and unit spies who would report you if your coffee break went 16 minutes. The office spies were also reviewing your email and your time cards to ferret out any malcontent or color violators. As you can imagine, this did wonders for trust and morale. This is one of about 100 insane things that she did. Here's the malicious compliance part. One type of log entry on your time card was doing the time card. Huge swaths of employees began putting doing the time card on their time card. So, your entire day could be doing the time card. Night shift employees began to only work between 8 and 5, and all-night productivity stopped. It wasn't long before productivity ground to a halt in the office and panic began to take hold in the ivory tower. Unfortunately, the Red Queen countered by doctoring the records and cooking the books to make it look like we were still being productive so that HQ wouldn't catch on, so she survived for 22 months before the office was on the verge of mutiny. I mean, why actually be productive when you can work 10 times harder to destroy productivity and make it only seem you're being productive? But word did get out and an inspection was scheduled. In a move befitting Game of Thrones, the Red Queen threw Dan the Dirty under the bus and fled to a Connecticut office before inspection, and then utterly destroyed that office. I wrote one of many letters to HQ, saying that Westeros had nothing on our organization and that a day in the office was like an episode of Game of Thrones, only with less blood and more paper. It all eventually caught up to her. The very head of the organization threw her out on her head. But not before she destroyed one office and nearly destroyed 3 others. Last I heard, she was doing data entry in Colorado somewhere. Reminds me of how you become captain on a Klingon bird of prey on TOS. I had a similar thing happen where my old sales supervisor at a barbecue shop frequently visited Subway for meals. The old supervisor grew fond of the Subway server and her exceptional customer service. She invited her to work at the barbecue shop in sales, and Mrs. Subway had excellent numbers to the point where she was leading sales figures after 3 months. Not long after that, Mrs. Subway saw an opportunity to use her impressive figures and cold heart to oust the sales supervisor and take her role. So 6 months after hiring her favorite Subway worker, the sales supervisor was made redundant and Mrs. Subway was promoted to sales manager. Slightly different title, but essentially the role of the person that gave her an opportunity. Business went downhill because although Mrs. Subway could sell very well, had very little organizational skills, and we lost several commercial contracts due to delivery and stock issues. I worked with a Red Queen at one stage. She'd been moved into our department to troubleshoot, particularly in the area of staff costs. I would guess that, like your Red Queen, she'd never really worked with a shift work, 24-hour operation before. And she'd been sent to an airport. One of the first things she did was ban overtime, unless permission had previously been granted by her before the overtime was started. In her opinion, staff were staying at work unnecessarily and costing too much in overtime payments. There was always a last shift we used to call to the death, a few people on the late shift. Then the airport closed for maybe 3 hours. Then the morning shift would start. It was implied and accepted that if you were on the last shift and an aircraft arrival was delayed, you would just suck it in, do the overtime, and hang around until either the delayed plane arrived or the morning shift arrived. It wasn't really feasible to have a flight arrive an hour or 2 late, to find nobody there to open the door, unload the bags, etc. We tried to point this out to Her Highness, but she insisted there be no exceptions. I think it only took 2 or 3 midnight phone calls. Hi. Flight XXX arrival is delayed. Permission requested to wait for it, before she exempted the late shift from requesting permission. Al? SL? Sounds like they took "We're all one big family" to heart. G.R.R. Martin's Family. A large company with a weak human resources department that would let some pissant low-level manager really fuck shit up? I witnessed the rise of a Red Queen. We were both promoted at the same time. She liked to start her day by taking her current favorite to the cafeteria, where they would eat breakfast and chat on company time. They would also go get manicures together on the weekend. No matter how many times she was told not to show such blatant favoritism, she'd do it, creating resentment amongst everyone else. Then her favorite, head swollen, would start acting out and making the Red Queen look bad. So the favorite would join the other unfavorite peons, and the Red Queen would choose her next favorite. She got away with this because our manager was laid off. The next manager wanted more money and quit. And the next unicorn manager believed that with the right encouragement, she'd become an awesome supervisor. Without firm leadership, the Red Queen went wild. She forced multiple potlucks on us for everyone's birthday. We would have to stand and watch the food cool because she wouldn't let anyone grab a plate until everyone was done, which meant that someone was unplugging a crockpot on the 3rd floor because there weren't enough outlets, and we had to wait on the 1st floor. She made a huge deal out of organizing a group lunch hour from a Chinese food restaurant. They were late with the delivery. She was seething when they arrived. We watched from the windows. The delivery guy had a young boy with him, and you could tell from the young boy's description that she was being uber bitch. I was transferred to another department, and then she started telling everyone I had been reporting to her behind my back. She was so rude and ineffectual that someone spent an evening entering her work email address into dozens of lesbian porn sites. The Red Queen wasn't very internet savvy and didn't understand why she started to get all that nasty stuff. It wasn't me, although I wish I had thought of it. The culprit confessed to me after they quit and handed me their badge. After the unicorn manager left, the Black Queen came in as a manager and put the Red Queen in her place. The Red Queen had dreams of being a manager, but she was so rude to everyone in the call center that she burned every possible bridge. She eventually quit and moved back east. Saw Red Queen and thought I was in the Resident Evil sub for a moment. Sounds like Dolores Umbridge. For a while I thought this was in one of the horror threads and was wondering who was going to get eaten first. Reminds me of the saying, playing dirty might get you to the top, but it won't keep you there. Or something like that. This has to be one of the best written malicious compliances I have ever read. Have you ever thought about writing a book about it? You should write books. Or anything. It was lovely. All of it. Oh my God. What was this lady thinking? What was she trying to achieve? Had a similar experience I can't personal talk about yet. But so far my personal Red Queen still has their job and I no longer work there. I'm sure they'll destroy themselves eventually. But not before they ruin much more than they have so far. I hate micromanaging bitches, especially when they get some power.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.